listen, practice, speak. Practice makes you perfect.
We're talking about that job interview, high stakes.
Yeah.
Where every single word feels like it carries so much weight.
Yeah.
And your confidence, your clarity, how you communicate, it can make all the difference. Let's be honest, though, that challenge gets, well, a lot bigger when you're doing it all in English, especially if it's not your first language.
Oh, absolutely. It adds a whole other layer of complexity.
All right, let's get started. We're beginning with those building blocks, those essential words and ideas that really form the foundation of almost any professional discussion. Getting these terms right isn't just about knowing definitions. It's about grasping why they matter so much in the workplace and how you can talk about your own competence around them. Okay, first up, deadline. You hear it all the time in business, right?
Mm-hmm.
But beyond just being a due date, what does it really tell an interviewer when a candidate shows they truly understand the concept of a deadline? What's the subtext there?
That's a really important question because, a deadline is so much more than just a point in time. Our source defines it clearly, sure. The final time or date by which a task or project must be completed.
Right.
But its impact, it ripples through everything an organization does. Think of it less as like a personal restriction and more as a key coordination point in a really complex system.
Okay, like a link in a chain.
Exactly. If you miss one, it doesn't just affect your bit of work. It starts a domino effect. Imagine, say, a marketing team needs visuals for a big campaign launch. If the writer misses their deadline for the copy, then the designers can't finish their part, the social media person can't schedule the posts, and the whole launch might get pushed back. And that's not just inconvenient, right? It costs time, it costs money. Sometimes it even damages the company's reputation.
So it's fundamentally about being a reliable team player. Understanding how everything connects. It's just proactive communication is needed, not just, making excuses after the fact.
Precisely. Our guide really emphasizes that real-world consequence. It says missing a deadline could lead to delays or problems with the project. So for you listening, understanding and, more importantly, respecting deadlines is a critical skill you need to convey.
Right.
But just saying I meet deadlines isn't, it's not that powerful. A better approach in an English job interview is to explain how you manage them, proactively.
Like what?
Like saying, I prioritize my tasks based on urgency and impact, or maybe if I see a potential delay, I communicate it early and I try to offer solutions, not just flag the problem.
Ah, okay. That shows more depth.
Exactly. It
Sure.
shows you're reliable, yes, and organized. But it also demonstrates you grasp project management basics, team dependencies, and that you're committed to the group succeeding. It signals you're a responsible professional who thinks ahead and tries to prevent problems.
Okay, next term, strengths. We all want to highlight what we're good at, obviously. But how do you pinpoint your strengths in a way that actually resonates in an interview, especially when you're explaining them in English? Is it just about what you naturally excel at, or is there like a strategic element tailoring them to the job?
This is definitely where candidates can miss a big opportunity. Our source defines strengths pretty clearly. The positive qualities or skills that someone is good at, things that make you stand out and help you succeed. But it's not just about listing nice words from a personality quiz. It's about showing how those qualities lead to real success that's relevant to the job. Our guide gives some decent examples, like if you're really good at working with numbers, you might say that your strength is analytical thinking.
Okay.
Or if you're a great listener, that could be a strength in communication. But we need to take that a step further, I think.
So make them really specific.
Yeah.
And show the impact, not just I'm good at X, but I'm good at X, and here's proof.
Precisely. The source itself stresses being honest and specific and the need to back them up with examples of how you solved a problem or completed something successfully because of that strength.
Right.
So for you listening, here's a powerful technique. You could try creating what I call a keyword matrix. Look at the job description. Pull out maybe the top 5 to 7 keywords, things like project management, client communication, data analysis, whatever they are. Then think about your own strengths and how they directly match up with each keyword. And for each match, have a specific, maybe even quantifiable example ready.
Connect your strength directly to their need.
Exactly. So if the job asks for strong analytical skills, don't just say, I'm analytical. Instead, try something like, my strength in analytical thinking helps me quickly make sense of complex data. For instance, in my last role, I analyzed client feedback trends and identified a way to improve efficiency by 15%.
Wow, that's much stronger.
Right. It shows you're not just generally strong, but you're strategically aligned with their needs. And it clearly demonstrates your ability to communicate that value effectively in business English.
Yeah, for the other side of the coin. And yeah, this is often the trickiest part of any interview, especially in English. Weaknesses. This question can feel like a trap, can't it? What's the employer really trying to find out when they ask this? They know nobody's perfect.
Right. You've definitely hit on a common fear. But employers, well, they're rarely looking for perfection because, like we said, it doesn't exist. Our source defines weaknesses as areas where someone might struggle or not be as skilled, opportunities for improvement or growth.
Opportunities for growth.
It's the opposite of strengths, things that you might need to improve or work on. The real goal, as our guide points out, is to see how you handle challenges. And this is key to check that you're aware of your weaknesses and that you're taking steps to get better.
So self-awareness and proactivity.
Exactly. They want to see a growth mindset, someone who can identify an issue and then works to fix it. The source gives examples like, if you're not very good at speaking in front of large groups, you could say that public speaking is one of your weaknesses. Or if you find it hard to stay organized.
But just naming the weakness isn't enough, is it? That just points out a problem. It's what you do next, the action you take, that really matters.
Absolutely. This is where that growth mindset really comes into play. So for you, the listener, it means framing weaknesses not as like permanent flaws, but as those opportunities for growth and improvement.
Right.
When you're asked, acknowledge it honestly. Maybe give a brief, specific example of how it's affected you in the past. But the most important part is detailing the actual practical steps you are currently taking to manage it or even turn it into a strength.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay, so instead of just saying, I'm a perfectionist, which can sound like a fake weakness anyway.
Yeah, the humble brag.
Right. Try something like, my attention to detail is generally a strength, but I've recognized it can sometimes lead me to spend too much time on minor aspects, especially when deadlines are tight. So I'm actively learning to prioritize done over perfect in those situations. I've implemented a 2-step review process for myself, and I set hard time limits for those detail-focused tasks.
See, that shows responsibility, resilience, and that you're committed to getting better, which every employer wants.
Exactly. The best weaknesses to choose for an interview are usually things like soft skills that when you show you're working on them actually make you seem like a more well-rounded, valuable employee, like turning that perfectionism into efficient quality control.
All right, last vocabulary term before the simulation. Onboarding. This might just sound like HR speak, right? But why is understanding onboarding actually important? Is it more than just filling out tax forms on day one? Why might a candidate even bring this up?
That's a good point. Onboarding, as our source explains it, is the process of introducing a new employee to a company. And yes, it includes everything from explaining the company's policies and culture to training them on the tools and tasks they'll be working with.
Okay, standard stuff.
But the deeper meaning, the real significance, lies in how it integrates and empowers someone new. A really good onboarding program helps new employees feel comfortable and prepared for their role. It makes sure they understand how things work in the company and sets them up for success. It's actually a pretty big investment the company makes in its new hires.
So it's really about helping someone hit the ground running, setting them up to actually succeed, not just getting them administratively processed. Sounds like a crucial investment in people.
It really is. Our guide points out the key parts. Usually during onboarding, you meet your team, learn about the company's values, and get familiar with the work environment. It also helps new people know who to go to for questions or support.
Makes sense.
And if you connect that to the bigger picture, a well-designed onboarding process has a huge impact on things like employee retention, how quickly someone becomes productive, and overall job satisfaction. When a company invests in making new folks feel welcome, informed, supported right from the start, those employees are much more likely to get up to speed faster, feel like they belong, and ultimately stay with the company longer. It shows the company values its people and wants them to succeed.
So understanding this term shows foresight from the candidate's perspective.
Exactly. If you, as a candidate, ask about the onboarding process in an interview, it shows you're thinking beyond just landing the job. You're thinking about how you'll actually integrate and succeed in the role. It signals you're a thoughtful, potentially long-term hire. It's a subtle but smart way to show you understand professional norms in English.
Fantastic. Okay, so with this core vocabulary deadline,
Strengths, weaknesses, onboarding, you're now much better equipped. Not just to understand the interview, but to navigate it skillfully, communicate your value. And now, we're ready. Let's dive into that realistic job interview simulation. Listen closely. Think analytically. All right, listeners, this is it. The heart of our deep dive today, really focusing on those English job interview skills. We're about to listen in on a simulated interview. It's between Emily Johnson, our candidate, and Mr. Carter, the HR manager. We'll play sections of their conversation focusing on Emily's responses, and then we'll pause, pull things apart, and find every useful insight for you. This is where we see all that vocab and strategy come alive in real business English communication. Let's go. Sound of the door opening and closing lightly. Mr. Carter. Emily Johnson. Emily. Yes, that's me. Hi, Emily. Mr. Carter. I'm Mr. Carter, the HR manager. Nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in today. Emily. Nice to meet you too, Mr. Carter. Thank you for having me. Mr. Carter. Of course. Please have a seat. How was your trip over here? Did you find the office okay? Emily. Yes, it was pretty easy.
The directions were clear, and traffic wasn't too bad this morning. Mr. Carter. Glad to hear that. We try to make things as smooth as possible for our candidates. Would you like some water or coffee before we begin? Emily. No, I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Carter. All right, then. So, let's get started.
Okay.
Okay, let's just quickly break down those first few moments. It seems like basic politeness, right? Small talk. But Emily's approach here, it says a lot. How does this initial back and forth, her sort of calm way of responding, her professional politeness, set a good tone right away? What's really being communicated even before the real questions start?
You know, this is actually a mini masterclass in nonverbal communication and building rapport, even before they get into the substance. Emily's responses, they're composed. That greeting, nice to meet you too, Mr. Carter. Thank you for having me. It's confident, but also respectful, humble even. It hits the right note. And her answer about the trip, yes, it was pretty easy. The directions were clear and traffic wasn't too bad. It's brief. It's positive. It shows she's, well, observant, polite, and she can handle that kind of informal chat gracefully, which is a key part of business English, right? Not just the formal stuff.
Right, she didn't complain about traffic or anything.
Exactly. No oversharing, no negativity. These little interactions, they seem small, but they're incredibly important. It taps into that whole science of first impressions. People make judgments really fast, within seconds sometimes.
Yeah.
So Emily here demonstrates social intelligence, a calm presence, even though she's probably nervous. And she shows appreciation for the interviewer's time. It signals she's thoughtful, appreciative, composed. It builds rapport right from the start, making Mr. Carter more likely to listen positively to what she says later. It subtly says, I'm already thinking like a professional.
That makes a lot of sense. It's not just the words, it's the delivery, the feeling behind it. Okay, let's move into the main part of the interview now. We'll hear how Emily introduces herself, and then we'll pause after a few of her answers and break them down together. That should give us a more natural flow, like we're analyzing as we go. Interview resumes. Mr. Carter. Can you tell me a little about yourself? Emily. Sure. Well, I'm originally from Chicago, but I moved here about 3 years ago after graduating from college. I studied communications with a focus on digital media. During my last year, I interned at a small marketing agency, and that really sparked my interest in branding and social media strategy. Mr. Carter. Ah, digital media. That's a fast-moving field. What kind of work did you do during your internship? Emily. It was a mix of things, actually. I helped manage their Instagram and Facebook accounts, created content calendars, and even wrote a few blog posts for their website. One of my favorite projects was helping launch a campaign for a local eco-friendly clothing brand. I got to be part of the creative meetings and even help shoot some of the visuals. Mr. Carter. That sounds like a great hands-on experience. So what did you do after graduation, Emily? Right after college, I got a full-time job at a startup called Brightline. They were just getting off the ground, so I wore all the hats. My title was content assistant, but in reality, I did everything from social media planning to customer support on busy days. Mr. Carter. Startups are great for that kind of exposure. What would you say was your biggest takeaway from that job? Emily. Honestly, I learned how to be adaptable. Things change daily. New tools, new goals, sometimes even new roles. It taught me how to prioritize and communicate clearly when everything felt urgent. I also learned how important it is to be part of a team that supports each other. Mr. Carter. I like that flexibility and communication are key in our company too. And what made you decide to leave Brightline? Emily. The company actually shifted its focus entirely. They moved from content and branding into more technical services, and my role was gradually phased out. It was a tough moment, but also a turning point for me. I realized I wanted to work somewhere where I could grow in content strategy specifically. And when I saw the opening here, it felt like a perfect match. Mr. Carter. So, Emily, why do you want to work here, Emily? Well, first of all, I really like your company. I've read a lot about it. I saw your website, and I also read some news about your recent projects. I think the work you do is very creative and meaningful. You help brands grow in a smart way, not just with numbers, but with good ideas, Mr. Carter. That's great to hear. Was there anything in particular that caught your attention? Emily. Yes, I like the campaign you did for the food delivery app, Meals Made Simple. I saw the video and the post on social media. It felt very real and friendly. I thought, wow, I would love to be part of a team that makes things like that. Mr. Carter, that was one of our favorite projects. So you're interested in that kind of creative work, Emily? Yes, very much. I enjoy writing and planning content. I like to think about how people will feel when they see a post or a video. I believe your team understands how to connect with people, not just sell to them. And that's something I admire, Mr. Carter. That's a good observation. And what about our company culture? Did you read anything about that, Emily? Yes, actually, I saw some employee reviews and a short video on LinkedIn. It looks like people here feel comfortable and supported. That's important to me. I want to learn and grow, but also feel like I belong. I think your company gives both. Interview pauses. Wow, okay, that was a pretty big chunk of the interview there, and Emily covered a lot. Let's unpack how she handled those really foundational questions. Tell me about yourself, talking about her career path, and the big one. Why do you want to work here? She really seemed prepared for those.
Oh, definitely. Emily used what you could call the professional narrative arc really effectively, or sometimes people call it the present past future model.
Okay.
She starts with her relevant present, her education, moving here. Then she touches briefly on her past experiences, the internship, the startup job. But the key thing is how she smoothly connects all of that to her future goals, which just happen to align perfectly with the job she's interviewing for.
Right. It's a story, not just a list.
Exactly. It's much more compelling than just reading off her resume points chronologically.
Right.
So many candidates just list their jobs. But Emily tells a story. For instance, she doesn't just say she did social media at her internship. She specifies. Helped manage their Instagram and Facebook accounts, created content calendars, and even wrote a few blog posts.
Details.
And then she gives that little mini example, almost a star method hint, helping launch a campaign for a local eco-friendly clothing brand where she got to be part of the creative meetings and even helped shoot some of the visuals. That shows real engagement, real contribution, not just assigned tasks.
That's a really important difference. And then when she talks about the startup and, her role getting phased out, she manages to frame that, which could sound negative, as a positive step. How does she pull that off?
Yeah, that's brilliant reframing, isn't it? She's honest about the startup reality, wore a lot of hats, doing everything from social media planning to customer support. But then she pulls up that key soft skill, adaptability. And she explains why it was needed. Things change daily, new tools, new goals, sometimes even new roles.
Right, she justifies it.
It's not just a claim. She demonstrates it through her experience, and she reinforces it by saying she learned how to prioritize and communicate clearly. Then her reason for leaving Brightline, it's presented not like she was let go, but as a strategic career move. The company shifted its focus to more technical services, so her content role naturally faded. She frames that as a turning point where she realized, I wanted to work somewhere where I could grow in content strategy specifically.
Which makes her applying for this job make perfect sense.
Exactly. It's incredibly smart. It makes her application seem logical, intentional. It shows she has a clear direction, ambition, and she's aligning her past experiences, even the challenging ones, with her future goals.
And her answer to why here, it also felt really prepared, but also authentic.
Yeah.
She didn't just give generic compliments.
Not at all. And this is such a great example of connecting your own values and goals directly to what the company does. That's vital business English communication. Emily proves she's interested by citing specific actions. I've read a lot about it. I saw your website, read some news about your recent projects. That shows she did her homework.
Yep.
But the real magic is in the specific example. She immediately mentions the campaign you did for the food delivery app, Meals Made Simple.
Yeah.
And she explains why it connected with her. It felt very real and friendly. I thought, wow, I would love to be part of a team that makes things like that. That personal connection is so much stronger than just saying, you do great work. She then links that admiration to her own professional philosophy. I believe your team understands how to connect with people, not just sell to them. And when he asks about culture, again, specific evidence, I saw some employee reviews in a short video on LinkedIn. Her conclusion, I want to learn and grow, but also feel like I belong, shows she's looking for more than just a paycheck. She wants a place to thrive.
So the lesson for listeners is research matters,
A lot.
Critically important. Don't just glance at the About Us. Find specific projects, values, something that genuinely interests you, and then explain why it does. Connect it to your own goals. That makes your Why Us answer feel real, memorable, and very persuasive.
Absolutely. That depth really makes a difference. Okay, let's hear how Emily handles those classic questions. Next, strengths and weaknesses. These can trip people up, even if they're experienced interview resumes. Mr. Carter. All right, Emily, let's talk a little about your strengths and weaknesses. Let's start with your strengths. What would you say you're good at? Emily. I think one of my biggest strengths is that I'm organized. I like to plan my tasks, use calendars, and make sure I don't forget anything. Even in busy situations, I stay calm because I have a plan. Mr. Carter. That's a great skill, especially in our line of work. Anything else? Emily. Yes, I'm also a good communicator. I like working with people, listening, and sharing ideas. In my last job, my manager said I was good giving feedback kindly and clearly. I think communication helps teams work better. Mr. Carter, absolutely. And now for the harder part. What's one of your weaknesses? Emily, yes. I would say that sometimes I take too much time on small details. I want everything to be perfect, so I spend extra time checking things again and again. Mr. Carter, perfectionism, that's a common one. Has that ever caused any problems, Emily?
Sometimes, yes. For example, when we had short deadlines, I had to remind myself that done is better than perfect. I'm learning to trust my first work more and to ask for feedback instead of fixing things over and over. Mr. Carter. That's a very honest answer, and it shows you're working on it. Any other weakness you've noticed, Emily? Maybe speaking in big meetings, I get a little nervous. I'm okay in small groups, but when there are many people, I feel shy. But I'm trying to practice. I joined a small public speaking group last year, and that's helping me. Interview pauses. Okay, Emily definitely got the memo on how to answer these. For strengths, she's not just using buzzwords. And for weaknesses, wow, she tackles it with honesty, but also shows she has a plan. What makes her approach here so effective, especially for these really crucial questions?
This is where Emily really sets herself apart, and it really showcases her strategic business English skills. Look at her strengths. She doesn't just say, I'm organized. She illustrates it. I like to plan my tasks, use calendars, make sure I don't forget anything.
Or the actions.
And then she connects it to a positive outcome. Even in busy situations, I stay calm because I have a plan. So her organization isn't just a trait, it's a practical tool for getting work done effectively and managing stress. Same with good communicator. She defines it through action, working with people, listening, sharing ideas. But then the clincher is the external validation, quoting her manager. My manager said I was good at giving feedback kindly and clearly.
That adds a lot of weight.
It really does. Adds credibility. Shows her self-assessment isn't just in her head, and then she explains why it matters. I think communication helps teams work better. So the lesson for you listening is, always go beyond just naming the strength. Show how you use it, give little examples or proof if you can, and explain the positive impact it has.
And then weaknesses. Often the downfall for candidates. But Emily handles it so well. It feels genuine, but also proactive.
It really does. Her answer is honestly a textbook example of how to do this right. She doesn't use a cliche like, I work too hard or something.
Right.
She gives two real weaknesses. But the crucial part is, for each one, she identifies the problem it can cause and then outlines the active steps she's taking to improve. For perfectionism, she admits the negative impact. When we had short deadlines, I had to remind myself that done is better than perfect. That shows she understands business needs, but more importantly, her solutions. I'm learning to trust my first work more and to ask for feedback. That's not just identifying a flaw, it's describing an ongoing improvement journey. It shows strategic self-development. And it's the same for public speaking. She's honest about feeling nervous and shy in big groups, but right away she follows up with her proactive solution. I joined a small public speaking group last year, and that's helping me.
Shows initiative.
Exactly. Initiative, commitment to growth. It brings us back to that vocabulary lesson of weaknesses as opportunities for growth. So when you answer this, don't just state the weakness. Articulate the specific actions you're taking. Think of it like a mini star response for your weakness. Situation, the weakness, task, the goal for improvement, action, what you're doing, result, the positive change or learning. It shows maturity, self-awareness, and that valuable growth mindset employers really look for.
That's incredibly useful advice. Turning a negative into a story of improvement is just such a powerful strategy. Okay, let's hear Emily talk about her 5-year plan next, and then her big pitch, why should they hire her? Interview resumes. Mr. Carter, and tell me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Emily, that's a good question.
In 5 years, I hope to be in a position where I feel confident and experienced in content strategy. Right now, I'm still learning, but I really enjoy this field. I'd like to grow step by step and become someone the team can count on for ideas and leadership. Mr. Carter. So you're thinking of a leadership role eventually, Emily? Yes. Maybe not a big role right away, but something like a team lead or content coordinator. I want to help others, not just do the work. I enjoy guiding people even now when I help friends or coworkers with writing or planning, Mr. Carter. That's a good vision. And are you thinking of staying in the same kind of company, or do you want to move to a different type of business? Emily?
Yeah.
I really like creative companies like this one where there's room for new ideas. I'm not sure about the exact place, but I know I want to work somewhere where creativity and people matter. I want to feel proud of what I create and the impact it makes. Mr. Carter, do you have any plans for more education or training in the next few years? Emily? Yes, actually, I'm thinking about taking a course in UX writing or maybe digital storytelling. I want to understand more about how people interact with content online, not just writing, but the full experience. If I stay here, I'd love to grow inside the company and maybe take advantage of any training programs you offer. Mr. Carter, that's good to hear. We do have internal development programs. It sounds like you've thought about this seriously, Emily. Yes. I try to be realistic. I know 5 years is a long time and things can change, but I like having a direction. I don't want to just have a job. I want to build a career that makes me feel excited every day. Mr. Carter. Well said, Emily. Thank you for sharing that. So, Emily, why should we hire you, Emily? Well, I think you should hire me because I'm a mix of creativity, responsibility, and motivation. I don't just want a job. I really want to contribute to the team. I care about the details, but I also understand the big picture. When I work on a project, I always ask, how does this help the company and the audience? Mr. Carter, that's a solid mindset. Can you give me an example, Emily?
Yeah.
Yes. At my last job, I created a weekly post series for our Instagram account. I didn't just make nice images. I also checked the comments and messages to see what people liked or needed. After a month, we saw more engagement, and even a few new customers told us they found us through those posts. Mr. Carter, that's real impact. And beyond skills, what do you think you bring as a person? Emily, I'm a positive person. I like working with others, solving problems, and keeping things moving. I try to stay calm under pressure, and I don't give up easily. If something doesn't work, I ask questions, try again, or ask for help. I believe teamwork is about listening and sharing. Interview pauses. Okay, Emily really manages to sound ambitious, but also, realistic in her 5-year plan. And then that closing pitch for why she's the one, it felt really strong. What's going on strategically in these answers?
What's really interesting here is how Emily shows she has a clear direction, but she's not rigid about it. She acknowledges that careers evolve. Her 5-year goal is specific enough. Confident and experienced in content strategy, wanting to grow step by step and become someone reliable for ideas and leadership.
Right.
She even names possible roles like team lead or content coordinator, but qualifies it with maybe not a big role right away. This shows ambition balanced with practicality, demonstrating good strategic thinking in her business English. Her comment about enjoying guiding people even now shows that leadership inclination feels genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And when asked about company type, she circles back to this company. Creative companies like this one, where there's room for new ideas, linking it to wanting to feel proud of what I create. That reinforces her interest.
Yeah, connects it back.
Plus, her plans for more training, UX writing, or maybe digital storytelling show she's committed to learning and staying relevant. And mentioning the company's internal training programs, that's smart. It shows she's already picturing her growth with them. So, for you listening, the takeaway is, have a vision, even if it's flexible. Try to align your personal goals with how you might grow within the company you're interviewing with. And definitely express your passion, your desire for a meaningful career, not just a job.
And then that final question, why hire you? Her chance to really sell herself. She seemed to pull it all together effectively.
Oh, absolutely. This is her elevator pitch moment, using concise business English to summarize her value. She starts strong, a mix of creativity, responsibility, and motivation. 3 great keywords. Then she states her intent. I don't just want a job, I really want to contribute to the team. That signals real investment.
Mm-hmm.
Her solid mindset comes through with that question she asks herself. How does this help the company and the audience? That's strategic thinking, focusing on results. And the Instagram post example, perfect. It's concrete, measurable, real impact. She didn't just do posts. She checked the comments, analyzed engagement, and linked it directly to new customers. That shows initiative, analysis, and business value.
Right, proof of impact.
And beyond skills, she highlights personal qualities. Positive, likes working with others, collaboration, calm under pressure, don't give up easily, resilience, and proactive problem solving. Ask questions, try again, or ask for help. So for you listening, think beyond just your skills list. Show your attitude, how you solve problems, and that genuine drive to make a contribution to the team and the company. Quantify your successes whenever you can. Make your value crystal clear.
Illustrate the impact, don't just state the skill. Got it. Okay, let's dig into how Emily handles those inevitable workplace issues, challenges, and pressure. Interview resumes. Mr. Carter. Thank you, Emily. That's a strong answer. Now tell me about a time you faced a challenge at work. Emily. Yes, I remember one situation very clearly. At my last job, we were working on a campaign for a local brand. Everything was going well until the client suddenly changed the deadline. They wanted everything ready 1 week earlier. Mr. Carter. That sounds stressful. Emily. It was. We had finished a lot of things quickly. The designs, social media posts, and the client presentation. At first, I felt overwhelmed. And honestly, the team was a bit confused about how to move forward. Mr. Carter. So what did you do? Emily. I asked my manager if I could help organize the new schedule. I made a list of what we had left, what was urgent, and what we could do later. Then I talked with my teammates, and we divided the work clearly. I also helped a colleague who was behind on writing copy for one of the posts. Mr. Carter. That's good initiative. Emily, thanks. In the end, we delivered the project on time. It wasn't perfect, but the client was very happy. The team also thanked me for helping keep things calm and clear. It sounds like you stayed focused under pressure. Yes, I learned that challenges are easier to handle when you stay organized and communicate. That experience helped me grow a lot. Mr. Carter. Okay, Emily, how do you handle pressure or stressful situations? Emily. I think stress is a part of every job, but the way we respond makes a big difference. For me, when I feel pressure, the first thing I do is stop and breathe. I try to stay calm and think clearly, even if things feel urgent. Mr. Carter. That's a smart first step. And what do you usually do after that, Emily? I break things into smaller steps. If I have a big task or deadline, I ask myself, what can I do right now? That helps me feel more in control. I also make a quick plan, even just a checklist, so I can see progress. Mr. Carter. And how does that work when you're in a team, not just working alone? Emily. In teams, I try to keep communication open. If I'm feeling stressed, I say it not in a negative way, but to be honest, I might say, this deadline is tight. Can we go over the priorities together? I think asking for help or clarification is better than staying quiet and getting overwhelmed. Mr. Carter. Have you ever had a moment when the stress got too much? Emily. Yes, actually, last year we had a week where 2 big projects overlapped and my teammate got sick. I had to do extra work and I started feeling really tired. I made a small mistake in a post that went live and I felt terrible. Mr. Carter. How did you recover from that, Emily? I told my manager right away and we fixed the post quickly. But more important, I realized I needed to take short breaks and drink water, eat properly, even if I was busy. I also started using a time tracking app to stay focused. That week taught me that managing stress is not just about work. It's also about taking care of yourself. Mr. Carter, that's a valuable lesson. It sounds like you've learned a lot from experience. Emily. Yes. Now, I try to stay calm, stay organized, and ask for support when needed. I don't see pressure as something bad. It can actually help us grow if we handle it the right way. Interview pausage. Wow, Emily's answers about handling challenges and pressure are just fantastic models for any candidate. She doesn't just talk about the problem. She walks us through her proactive, step-by-step approach. What are the key takeaways here for our listeners?
This is where Emily really nails those behavioral questions, showing strong business English communication skills. For the workplace challenge, she gives a perfect STAR method response, even without calling it that.
Right.
She sets the situation. Client suddenly changed the deadline, making it 1 week earlier. She acknowledges the initial stress and confusion that's relatable, but her actions are where she shines. No panic. She took initiative. I asked my manager if I could help organize.
Yeah, proactive.
Then she describes her structured approach, making lists, prioritizing, urgent later, talking with teammates, dividing work, and crucially, helping a colleague. That shows teamwork. The result is clear and positive, delivered on time, happy client, team appreciation, and then the vital part, the lesson learned. Challenges are easier to handle when you stay organized and communicate. Plus, that experience helped me grow a lot. That shows self-reflection, growth, exactly what interviewers want to see.
And her approach to handling pressure in general, it sounds so systematic, almost universally useful. It's not just coping, it's like a strategy.
It really is. Emily lays out this incredibly practical, adaptable framework. That first step, stop and breathe, that's basic mindfulness, allows clear thinking, universal.
Yeah.
Then she moves into tactics, break things into smaller steps, asking, what can I do right now? Making a quick plan, even just a checklist, These are things anyone can do to regain control and track progress. And the team context is key. Advocating for open communication, even suggesting the exact professional phrase, "This deadline is tight, can we go over the priorities together?" That turns her stress into a shared problem to solve collaboratively. That's advanced business English in action. Her story about making a mistake under extreme stress. It's powerful because it's real. And her recovery wasn't just fixing the mistake, but implementing self-care. Breaks, water, food, time tracking. It highlights that stress management is also about taking care of yourself. Which raises that important question, right? How do you know when stress is becoming damaging and you need to take these proactive steps, including self-care? Emily shows that recognizing that point and acting on it marks a truly resilient professional.
Absolutely.
So for you listening, these are really actionable tips from breathing techniques to team alignment, all aimed at turning pressure from a negative into something that helps you grow.
Such a well-rounded view of managing pressure. Definitely something employers value. Okay, nearly there. Let's hear how Emily handles the salary question, always a bit tricky, and then talks about her work style preferences. Interview resumes. Mr. Carter. Thank you, Emily. Appreciate your thoughtful answer. Now let's talk about salary for a moment. What are your salary expectations, Emily? Emily, thank you for asking. I've done some research on similar roles in the city, and I understand that the average salary for this position is around $45,000 to $50,000 per year. Based on my experience and skills, I think something in that range would be fair. Mr. Carter. That's a reasonable range. Is salary your top priority, Emily? Not really. Of course, I want to be paid fairly, but for me, growth, learning, and being part of a good team are just as important. If there are opportunities to develop my skills and move forward in the company, that means a lot to me. Mr. Carter. I see. And are you flexible? Emily. Yes, I am. I'm open to discussing it more depending on the full offer, like benefits, training, and the role itself. My main goal is to find a good fit where I can do meaningful work and grow. Mr. Carter. And Emily, do you prefer working independently or as part of a team? Emily. That's a good question. Honestly, I enjoy both, and I think each has its moment. When I'm doing tasks that need deep focus, like writing or editing, I like working alone. I can concentrate better and manage my time. But when it comes to big projects or solving problems, I really enjoy teamwork. Mr. Carter. So you'd say you're comfortable with both styles? Emily. Yes, definitely. For example, in my last job, I was often responsible for writing blog posts. That part was independent. I did research, wrote drafts, and made edits on my own. But before publishing, I always met with the designer and the marketing manager. We discussed the layout, the timing, and the message. That part was very collaborative. Mr. Carter. And how do you feel about group decisions or brainstorming sessions? Emily. I really like them. I believe good ideas come from listening to different people. Sometimes someone says something simple and it gives me a new perspective. Also, I'm not afraid to speak up in meetings. I try to give helpful suggestions, but I also listen carefully. It's important to respect all voices. Mr. Carter.
What happens when there's disagreement in a group? Emily? That happens. Of course, I think the key is communication and respect. If someone disagrees with my idea, I don't take it personally. I ask, can you explain why? That way I learn. And if I disagree with someone, I try to say it in a kind and clear way, like, I see your point, but what if we try this instead? I think it's better to look for a solution than to win an argument. Mr. Carter. Very well said. And when you work alone, how do you stay motivated? Emily. I usually set small goals for myself, like finishing one section before lunch or reviewing everything by 3 p.m. I also take short breaks to stay fresh. I'm pretty self-disciplined, and I like checking things off my list. It gives me a good feeling of progress. Mr. Carter. Sounds like you have strong work habits. One last question on this. If you had to choose only one, working alone or in a team, which would you prefer? Emily. If I had to choose, I'd say working in a team. I love being around people, sharing ideas, and feeling like we're building something together. But I do need some quiet time during the day to think and create. So a mix is ideal. But if I had to choose just one, I'd go with teamwork. Interview pauses. Okay, Emily's handling of the salary talk shows she's prepared, but also flexible. That's a fine line to walk. And her answer about working alone versus in a team, it was so nuanced. Not just a simple yes or no. What can we learn from these responses?
What's really effective about the salary part is that she shows she's done her homework and has a broader view of compensation. She starts by saying she's done some research, giving a specific justified range, $45,000 to $50,000. That sounds professional, informed.
Right.
But then she doesn't fixate on the number. When asked if it's her top priority, she pivots. She says growth, learning, and being part of a good team are just as important. This signals she's thinking long-term about career development, company culture, not just the immediate paycheck.
Shows investment.
Exactly. And her flexibility response is also key. Open to discussing it more depending on the full offer, like benefits, training, and the role itself. That frames compensation as a whole package, showing she understands the total value proposition in business English terms, her main goal. Find a good fit where I can do meaningful work and grow.
So the advice is research your range, state it confidently, but also talk about the other things that matter to you.
Precisely. Show you're looking at the whole picture. It suggests you might be more loyal, more engaged.
And her work style answer.
Yeah,
it wasn't just team player or independent worker.
No, and that's why it's so good. It's a masterclass in showing self-awareness and adaptability. She doesn't just pick one. She says, I enjoy both, and I think each has its moment.
Right. Context matters.
Exactly. She explains when she prefers solo work, deep focus like writing or editing, and why concentrate better. And conversely, when teamwork is better, big projects or solving problems, that immediately signals flexibility. The blog post example is perfect independent writing, then collaborative review. It illustrates how she moves between styles. Her positive view on brainstorming, good ideas come from listening, and her approach. Speak up, but also listen carefully, respect all voices, reinforce her collaborative side. This really answers that unspoken question. Can you adapt your style without being rigid? Emily shows she can, which is excellent communication. And her way of handling disagreement. So insightful. Focus on communication and respect, asking, can you explain why? Shows she wants to understand, not just defend. Expressing her own view in a kind and clear way, aiming for a solution than to win an argument, that's exactly what effective collaboration looks like.
Yeah, very mature approach.
Plus, showing she can stay motivated alone with small goals and self-discipline habits proves she's got internal drive. Even when forced to choose teamwork, she qualifies it with needing quiet time, showing a balanced, realistic view. So for you listening, avoid simple yes or no. Give examples showing you can thrive in different situations, demonstrating flexibility and understanding.
Such a thoughtful, versatile response. Really shows she understands different work needs. Okay, final stretch. Learning from mistakes and asking your own questions. Interview resumes. Mr. Carter. All right, Emily. Now tell me about a time you failed. What did you learn from it? Emily. Yes. There's one experience that really taught me a lot. It was during my internship when I was helping plan a small online event for new customers. My job was to send out the invitation emails with the right links and times. Mr. Carter. And what happened? Emily. Well, I sent the email, but I made a small mistake. I copied the wrong time for the event. I didn't double-check it. Some people showed up late, and a few even missed it completely. The team was surprised, and my manager had to send an apology message to the guests. Mr. Carter. That must have felt tough. Emily. Yes, I felt terrible. I thought I'd ruined everything. I was so embarrassed. But my manager was kind. She sat down with me and said, everyone makes mistakes. What matters is what you do next. Mr. Carter. That's a great way to handle it, Emily. Exactly. So I wrote an apology to the team, and I made a checklist system for myself. So I would always review important details before sending anything. I also asked another intern to check my work when it involved public communication, just to have a second pair of eyes. Mr. Carter. That sounds like a responsible reaction, Emily. Thank you. Since then, I've become much more careful. I learned that even small details like a time or a link can make a big difference. And I also learned not to be afraid of mistakes. They can be painful, but they help you grow. Mr. Carter, thank you. I always try to turn my failures into something useful. Before we finish, Emily, do you have any questions for us? Emily, yes, thank you. I have a couple. First, I'd like to know more about the team I'd be working with. How big is it? And what's the team culture like? Mr. Carter, great question. You'd be a part of the marketing team, which has 7 members. It's a mix of designers, writers, and strategists. We value creativity, but also open communication. People here are very supportive. It's a good environment for learning and sharing ideas. Emily, that sounds great. And what does a typical day in this role look like? Mr. Carter, you'd usually start the day with a short team check-in. Then you'd work on your tasks, writing content, scheduling posts, reviewing campaigns. Some days involve meetings with clients or designers. There's also room to bring your own ideas. Emily, perfect. One last question. Is there any kind of training or support for new employees? Mr. Carter. Yes, absolutely. We have a 2-week onboarding program where you meet the team, learn the tools, and start small tasks. You'll also have a mentor to guide you during the first few months. Emily, that's very helpful to know. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Interview ends. And that's a wrap on the interview simulation. Emily's honesty about that mistake, and then those really smart questions at the end. It really sealed the deal, didn't it? What makes her approach to failure and her own questions so effective in demonstrating strong business English skills?
Her response about failure is just so powerful because she's completely honest about the mistake and how bad she felt. I felt terrible, so embarrassed. That vulnerability actually builds connection and trust. The failure itself, sending an email with the wrong time, is simple, relatable, but the key is the transformation afterwards. Her manager's advice, what matters is what you do next, is that pivot point. It shifts the focus from the mistake itself to the learning and the comeback.
Right, the recovery.
And Emily's responsible reaction involved real concrete actions, apologizing to the team, that's accountability. But more importantly, creating a checklist system and getting a second pair of eyes for public communications. Those are systemic changes to prevent it happening again. That shows she didn't just fix the one error, she improved her whole process.
Proactive improvement.
Exactly. And the lessons learned are powerful. Even small details make a big difference. And critically, not to be afraid of mistakes. They help you grow. So for you listening, when talking about failure, admitting the mistake is just the start. The real power is in showing what you learned, how you took responsibility, and what systemic changes you made to prevent it from happening again. It's all about that growth narrative.
Showing you learn and evolve from setbacks.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then her questions at the end, they weren't just throwaway questions, were they? They felt strategic.
Not at all. They were highly strategic, actually. Emily's questions work so well because they're not just about satisfying her curiosity. They show she's genuinely thinking about fitting in and succeeding in the role and the company. That's great business English communication in an interview setting.
Okay.
Her first question about the team size and culture, that shows she's thinking about collaboration and fitting in, which she already said was important to her. Mr. Carter's answer about the supportive environment confirms her earlier research. The second question, what does a typical day look like, is super practical. It lets her picture the reality of the job, check if it aligns with her skills, and show she's focused on the actual work.
Right, the day-to-day.
And the final question about training or support. That loops back to her commitment to learning and development, her 5-year plan. Hearing about the onboarding program and a mentor provides real reassurance about growth opportunities.
So asking good questions is really part of the interview itself.
Absolutely critical. It signals you're engaged, you're thinking ahead, and you genuinely want to understand the role in the company culture. It shows you're serious and you're already thinking like you're part of the team. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow, what an incredibly detailed deep dive that was. Unpacking Mastering the Job Interview, a simulation and guide. Emily Johnson, our simulated candidate, she really navigated that whole process with such poise, clear strategic thinking, and just excellent business English communication.
She really did.
From those first calm greetings right through to those insightful final questions, she just handled every single part with real confidence and professionalism. We saw it right there, the power of using specific measurable examples, the art of framing challenges as real growth opportunities, the absolute need to show genuine interest by doing your homework, and of course, how impactful it is to ask thoughtful, strategic questions that show you're thinking ahead.
Absolutely. Her knack for backing up strengths with proof, tackling weaknesses with clear improvement plans, and just seamlessly weaving her past experience into her future goals within that specific company. It was truly impressive.
Yeah.
This deep dive really gave us a solid blueprint, I think, for communicating effectively in these high-pressure professional situations in English. It proves that when you combine language skill with strategic thinking, that can be your most powerful asset.
Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you, our listener, with a question. What really stood out to you from Emily's interview approach? Is there a specific strategy, maybe that keyword matrix idea for strengths? Or using the STAR method for challenges? Or just a particular way she phrased something that you could see yourself using in your next English job interview? How could you adapt some of these lessons to fit your own unique story?
And building on that, here's a final thought to chew on, tying back to that crucial growth mindset. Think about one common interview question that maybe you've always found difficult, one that perhaps tripped you up before. After listening today, how might you approach that question differently now? How could you use Emily's blend of honesty, concrete action, and forward thinking to completely reframe your answer, showing not just what you know, but demonstrating how you learn and grow?
That's a fantastic challenge to consider. Remember, every source, every conversation like this hold hidden gems of knowledge, especially when we're talking about the nuances of business English learning. Keep digging, keep learning, keep asking those questions. We're here to help make your next deep dive and hopefully your next job interview a huge success. Until next time, keep exploring and keep growing.